let's do this thing. You ready? I want to jump into, and then I don't want to spend too much time on this. I want to open up to Q&A because we haven't done one of those in a while. But I think it'd be pretty cool if we do some live role play objection handling stuff here. So I think to keep it simple, a few of you guys commented. I don't know, is Jorge even here? No, he's not. He freaking left a comment. Didn't even jump on here. What a loser. I'm just kidding. I love Jorge. So I want you guys to think about like maybe a recent sales conversation you've had, or a common objection that you get. Maybe it's like, okay, this all sounds good, but we just want to think about it. Or, okay, this sounds good. I just got to take it up to my higher ups. I'll let you know. Or, yeah, it just seems too expensive. Can we work out a deal? Like anything that prevents the prospect from being like, okay, let's do this thing. I want you to bring them up. We're going to give a quick synopsis on like who the client is, what's their background, why are we having a conversation in the first place, real quick. And then we go right into the objection handling. And then we're going to kind of see like how we can navigate that. And I think it'll be really good. So where's it at? I mean, yeah, who wants to go first?
I have an objection.
Boom, let's do it. What do you got?
I got so something that I honestly haven't gotten, like I haven't been on too many sales calls, but this is one of the objections that's in my mind. I'm like, I really hope I could answer this. It's, how do I this is like what they would say. How do I know I'm gonna get a return on my investment? Like, how do I know? So
real quick, I want to establish this. So when it comes to objection handling, when you get really good at sales, the idea is that you want to address potential objections before they even come up, right? So the idea is that we need to figure out during the conversation and pre-sales call, what can we do in order to make sure they have all their questions answered and they're aware of expectations before we even get to the price, right? So there's a lot of objections we're probably going to talk about today that we can alleviate before it even comes up in the first place. Okay. So, what was it? What was your objection that you brought up? Oh, how do I know it's going to work?
Yeah. How do I know I'm going to get a return on my investment?
Sure. So, before I give my response, I'd love to hear what everyone else says. Who else has received the same thing, and what do any of you guys have a good response for it? Colton, what do you got?
No, I mean that's something. Someone's mic is on. I cannot think right now. Oh my gosh. I was just gonna say I think I've struggled with this, and I think I suck at sales sometimes because clients ask me this, and I'm like, well, that's the thing is like a lot of it comes on your effort. The funnel is going to be the main thing, but I always bring up that I can't promise that they'll get clients, but I don't know if that's like a bad sales tactic or like I shouldn't say that, but no, I just raised my hand because I've had that a ton too.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. Who has a good response for that? Philip actually has a guarantee. I think he's one of the few that actually guarantees results, but he's doing like running ads. Like you have a little bit of a different offer. You're not like a video agency. You're an agency that like runs direct response ads and brings leads directly to the table. Like you say, if you pay and you don't make your money back in the first 30 days, we'll give you your money back. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. You also have results to kind of back it up because you've done it before. You know how to deliver those results. And at the end of the day, that is what you're selling. With a lot of what we're doing, it's a little bit more on the subjective side because we're not managing ads, right? Like a lot of you guys are not doing any ad management. You're not doing anything like that. So it's a little bit different. Alex, I feel like did you raise your hand earlier? Did you have a response for this?
Yeah, I did. Because what I help with is increase engagement for my clients on social, for like me personally. Is I increase conversations. I can't guarantee sales. And so it's what you said earlier, Ridge. It's setting that up very early in the conversation. Because now the way I'm starting my calls is like, here's what I don't do. I don't do this. I don't do that. I don't do that. Okay. Are we still good? Yes, no. And then when they say yes, all right, now here's what I actually do. So it's like setting it up very early in the conversation helps a ton. With exactly what Tyler was sharing.
For sure.
Yeah.
And because you're clear in your offer, it sounds like that's not even really a question that comes up because
100%.
They're not talking to you in the first 100%. Place because they're looking for ROI. They're looking for a different outcome.
They're like, I need more engaging content on social media. That's what I'm getting when I get responses. That's what they come in with. It's like, my engagement sucks on social media. My videos don't look good. My it's not like I don't have any leads coming in. I don't get that question too much anymore because I'm so clear on who I'm talking to. And what I'm offering. So yeah.
I like that a lot. What Alejandro said is that same thing. What I've noticed is that when you set up clear expectations on what you don't do, it makes the company feel like, okay, they're not just another company trying to be like, oh yeah, we're perfect and we're this perfect company that's going to do perfect with you all the time. It kind of gives them like, okay, they're just human as well. Like I understand what they do and what they don't do. In terms of real estate agents, I mean, I haven't worked with them, but the best way that I think would work is that you kind of tell them your buyer cycle is a lot longer. So understanding that when you get a lead, it takes time to really nurture that lead. The same thing applies with social media, where it's a long game. And if you show up consistently every single day, what's the likelihood of you not getting results? To be able to think in terms of, especially with real estate being a long-term game, it'll come to a point where you'll see all the seeds that you've been planting from posting organically on content grow exponentially over time. It's not linear. And then you can relate it to the same thing with their business. Like, hey, when you first started this, were you getting clients right out the door? No. You're starting something new and fresh. And I know that when we work together, because you want to position it with like, put you in the picture for the future. When we work together, 6 months down the road, and we've been posting every single day, I will say with utmost confidence that you will see results. And that's the truth. Like with anything, with fitness, with business, with content, if they post every single day, they're consistent with it, they follow up with their leads. Like Ridge is a testament to this. Like he's always on top of like, okay, all these leads are coming in. I got to make sure I follow up with them. I'm always tracking my data. And once you position it that way, they're kind of like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And you use their lingo. I've realized really utilizing their lingo and make correlations between their business and creating content has been huge. So try that out.
So at the end of the day, we need to be very like this boils back down to the foundational idea of what is it we're selling and what are people buying from us, right? What is the result that we're selling? Is it a direct ROI? Like Philip, he's selling direct ROI. I'm going to make you money. It's trackable. We have KPIs. But then there's people like Alex where he doesn't sell a direct ROI because at the end of the day, he's not handling the sales conversations. He's not delivering leads on a silver platter and they're running ads for them. Like I can give you awareness that is obviously noticeable. You're going to have increased conversations and those additional conversations are our metrics. That's something we can prove that's not subjective. You're going to notice all the new conversations. From that point, I'm going to trust that you as the expert, you're going to know how to properly nurture the leads that we bring you and then close them yourself. Right. So at the end of the day, what we're doing is our focus is building you a market-proof brand that can work with you. Oh, that's going to constantly generate you leads organically forever. Right. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of other agencies, which all the models work, but there's other ad agencies where we can get you results, but you got to keep feeding us money. Right. Like you got to keep spending money on ads. You got to keep doing this. Right. It's not organic. Now, granted, it's a slow buildup. Like for the social funnel, think about like a hybrid. Like you're running paid ads to build your profile, but it's also built on organic. The idea is that you spend money on ads, but after 3, 4, 5 months, you get to a point where you've paid to build a solid brand, and then the organic just starts to work for you. For me, I don't have to spend nearly as much as I used to be spending on ads because like I'm getting more and more traction. Like I've got almost 21,000 followers now, and I have a massive nurture machine. And because I was running paid ads, dude, 80% of my audience are all videographers, like exactly who I'm going after. Same thing with my video agency. When I was working with coaches and people selling info products, I was targeting them specifically. So I'm getting down a rabbit hole. Let me pull back. In order to address the objection, we need to first be clear on what is it we're selling. So my question, Tyler, would be, what is it you're selling? Like, what are people buying from you? What's the outcome?
Yeah, so it's not just gonna be like an increased brand and making them a powerful brand that people like, know, and love, or love, know, and trust. But it's part of my offer. What I'm developing now is lead generation, and so I want to be able to some extent, guarantee that I can get them more. I mean, at least just some more business at the end of the day, because I'm gonna make their brand dope. So when people look at them, they're like, "Dang, these are the type of people I want to work with." But I also want to help them run profitable ads that can guarantee them work as well. So that way, it just puts 2 and 2 together. It's like a no-brainer for them, you know?
So you're doing the social funnel. You're doing a social scaling system. You're helping with organic, but you're also doing paid. Like you're bringing them leads as well. So at the end of the
Yes.
day, we need to be clear on like what is it they're buying and what do they care about? Because if they do care about lead generation and like the success metric is how many leads am I bringing you, aka specifically how many qualified leads am I bringing you, then yeah, like at the end of the day, my response is simply this, because I used to run ads before. My response is I would say, like if somebody says, well, how do you guarantee results? Or do you guarantee results? I'd come back with, man, wouldn't that be great? If everybody could guarantee results, why isn't everybody rich? Right? Like, dude, if there's a marketing agency out there that's like, oh, you spend X amount on us, we guarantee we're going to make you this much. Why doesn't everybody just do it? Everybody be rich. Nobody would have an issue, because at the end of the day, the biggest bottleneck with most businesses is just fucking lead gen. Like, if we can just get leads to come through the door, like people don't have a really hard time with fulfilling as long as you know how to deliver a basic competent offer that can help them, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, man, wouldn't that be great? And whenever I just say that, I only say that and then I just look at them and I smile. I'm like, man, wouldn't that be great? And they just kind of look at me like, yeah. And I'm like, I mean, I wish I could guarantee you. Unfortunately, that's not how marketing works. What I can do is I can show you what we've done for all these other clients, right? Because it's one thing for me to talk a big game and tell you all these cool things we can do. It's another to just show you what we've done, right? So I can show you what we've done for these guys. Unfortunately, it is a little bit of a risk, but it's a calculated risk. All marketing is a risk. All building a business is a risk. So I don't want to guarantee it to you. However, that's just me. I know a bunch of other people that make guarantees, and if they can fulfill and they're confident in it, then great. All day long, go do it. Personally, I don't want to. I just don't want to work with those like people that only work with someone if they have a guarantee. That's just me. Philip, what are your thoughts, dude? Like, you're still kind of new with your offer. You have a couple clients. You have a money back guarantee. So like, what's your thought process on that?
With kind of like how I'm structuring the offer.
Yeah, well, so you're running ads too, right? And we're getting ready to incorporate a done for you content offer as well.
Mhm.
Tyler's doing something kind of similar. Like, he's working with their socials. He's also running ads for them to get leads inbound for blue collar contractors, right? That's your niche, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Pretty much.
Tyler, that's yours, right? Okay, cool. And then yeah, Philip, you're working with med spas. So what are your thoughts on the idea of guarantees?
Well, with the guarantees, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't they want to sign on and jump on with you? You know what I mean? Like,
It definitely makes it a no-brainer. Yeah.
it's a no-brainer. And like the least that they can get out of it if you don't get them results is information that they can implement themselves, you know? So
So I think what most people's concern and like fear is not making a guarantee, because they're not, at the end of the day, it boils down to one thing. They're not insane. They're not confident enough that they can actually deliver what they say they're going to deliver.
mhm.
Right? Like, if you're saying you're going to run ads and you're going to bring someone leads and they say, okay, can you have any guarantee of a certain amount of leads? It's like, can you even guarantee one or two? Right? It's like, can you guarantee anything? So I definitely see what you're saying there. Right? So you make a valid point. It's like, what's the worst case scenario here? You spend a couple grand, you learn some information, but you lose some money. Like, that's worst case scenario. And that's if we like suck at our job. Best case scenario, you make a big ROI, we work together long term, and your business changes forever. So that's
Yeah.
also a pretty good objection handle too that I use a lot, which is what's worst case, best case. I've used it with a few guys in here, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But we're just
What-
like, hey, listen, what's worst case scenario? You spend the money, like, what's worst going to happen? Well, I'm out a few $1,000, but I learn a bunch. Okay, you'll make it back at some point. You'll make it back in a couple months. Worst case scenario, you leave, whatever, right? What's best case scenario? My life changes forever, right? It's like, cool. So which one outweighs the pros and cons? So anyway, does that kind of make sense? Does that help, Tyler? Cool. Okay. What else,
Yes,
guys?
it does. That actually helps a lot.
Cool. Okay. What else? Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on like more subjective guarantees like hard work, transparency? Yeah, I was just curious what your thoughts are.
Because like it's like, yeah, it's just you can't quantify subjective like, metrics. And so whenever you leave room for a client and you to have certain expectations that are subjective that you can't quantify, then it leaves room for a month or a couple months down the line for them to be unhappy with something, but you think things are going well, but at the end of the day, you can't come to an agreement because it's subjective. Does that make sense? It's not quantifiable. It's either
So what happened?
black or white,
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. So what happens? You guarantee 10 new leads and you don't fulfill that guarantee.
Well, so this is where we're kind of going into like the realm of like Are we running ads? Are we are we running and implementing funnels with people? Or are we just making content for them? Ideally, we want to help them to some extent, or they should have a team that already knows how to do it. So that way they don't really need guarantees because they have a team that knows how to deliver results. They just need better content in order to increase their conversions, right?
Right.
So, let me mute this Geo real quick. So at the end of the day, it's like, so for example, I paid this guy, we're super close, to help me like install a setter into my business. Okay. Paid his agency, it was like $5,000, and he had a guarantee of 60 qualified appointments a month. Now, from my perspective, as somebody that purchased his offer, that immediately made me go, if you guarantee it, let's do it. We didn't get 60 qualified leads the first month. But here's the thing. He communicates with me all the time. Whenever there's a bottleneck or we don't hit KPI or we don't get booked calls, immediately he's on top of it. He's like, hey, dude, I see we're not hitting KPI today. Here's what I'm seeing and what I'm noticing. So we're going to make adjustments necessary. Bro, if anything, that's more valuable to me than if we just hit 60 every month. If anything, I'm like, this dude's here to like work with me, to adjust with me. That's what I want to do. But at the end of the day, that's why you need to, if you're going to be a good marketer, you need to understand how to read KPIs. So you can understand if we're not getting leads, where's our bottleneck? Right? And then how do we improve upon that? What are you going to say?
No, I was going to say, well, that kind of comes back to like guaranteeing subjective things, but I guess it could be objective if you like from the beginning guarantee that you're going to go over every KPI, you know, even if you don't meet whatever the lead gen.
So now we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. We need to pull back and just ask the question of what is the offer you're doing? Right. Because are we talking about like now maybe you think you want to run ads? Like what is the offer in the first place? Because I hate running ads personally. I don't want to do it. But I make a lot of money with a video agency. You don't need to do that by any means. So my question then is like, okay, what is the offer in the first place? Who do you help? How do you help them? And why are they paying you? Right. Now it's hard. I get it. It's hard, especially when you first start out. I think there's a few of you guys that are still kind of in the new stages of like trying to get a first few clients on your belt. That's the hard part is like the first few clients, you're going to have to counteract that risk management. So at the end of the day, if you can't do a guarantee, you don't want to do a guarantee, that's fine. But you have to do something else in order to counteract the risk. The less risk they can perceive on their end, the easier the close is going to be. Right. So a guarantee that I have is like, okay, cool. Why are we talking in the first place? What are your metrics? Everybody has metrics. Everybody invests into something and they have a specific outcome they want in their mind. We just have to pull it out of them sometimes. They might think they don't really know, but they know as long as you ask the right questions. Right. So I'm like, okay, dude, why are we doing this in the first place? Oh, I want to build a strong brand. Okay, cool. Why? Right. The 7 whys. We talk about it all the time. Like, what does that lead to? And then you get to the end conclusion of, okay, well, I want to build a brand because I want to get to a point where I can sell my product and services organically, and I want to be able to sell at least 2 new ones a week, right? So it's like, cool, those are our metrics. Now, how do we get there? And then you need to mitigate the risk associated. So like if you don't have any sort of guarantees and you don't have any case studies or results of working with anyone in the past, I personally would either drop my price, do it for free, and get the case study first, because that's immensely more valuable than just trying to make a couple thousand bucks. Immensely. Like I was talking with Phil today. It's like, dude, we don't care about making money right now. We just care about getting those case studies. Because as soon as you get a couple case studies, then it's game over. Then you don't even have to try and convince people of anything. You can just say, oh, look what we did for this person. And then that person's on video saying he made me this much money, or he got this result for me, or his videos built a brand that was able to bring us market-proof dominance, whatever, right? Then proof's in the pudding. Right. So the most valuable thing, if you don't have it yet, is to get at least 2 to 5 minimum testimonials of happy clients on camera, explaining why they're happy with your services. And truly what you did for them, that's more than just, oh, he made great content. His communication was great. It was a seamless experience, because nobody gives a fuck about that. Nobody cares. That's not why they invest in your content in the first place. They don't pay for communication. They don't pay for good quality videos. That should be the standard. Good content should be the standard. That's baseline. Right. So we need to get very clear on who we're working with, why are they paying us, and then do whatever it takes to get those case studies. You know how much work I've done for free? You know how much free work Alex does? It's semi-controversial, but at the end of the day, you know, the market dictates what it wants. So anyway, I'm going to get off my high horse.
I actually want to make a point, Ridge, that you said was pretty, I didn't want to say it until someone else said it, but it's Alex Hormozi calls it I think the 5 horsemen of retention, whatever. But it's crazy how little people communicate. Like the fact that the setter guy that you're working with communicates with you so much, it makes you feel like he cares.
Yes.
And it's a psychological thing where not many people do that. And I remember I used to do that a lot and communicate, and I always felt like I'm over communicating, so I stopped. And I realized that just communicating with the clients, being like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what's happening, it helps with retention so much. Also identifying like, okay, there's a common pattern that certain clients are doing that generate them the most results quickly, and it keeps them longer with me. What are those things? So it can easily be communication. Okay. It can easily be like, okay, what are the top three um modules that most of my people, like let's use a coaching offer, for example. What are the top three modules that my best winning guys are doing? And then making that the standard moving forward for the next group of guys. Does that make sense? So for example, if I'm like, okay, I noticed that the clients I'm doing content for, if I help them immediately get on a call and be like, hey, let's go ahead and do a content ideation session immediately, and then that is one of the identifiers that leads to them staying longer with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It's one thing to come to a client and be like, hey, we're not getting results. I don't really know why. And it's another to come to them and say, hey, we're not hitting KPI, we're not getting results, or we're not on track to deliver what you're wanting in the first place. But it's okay, because the reason we're not is because of XYZ. So let's make your content better by doing this. Let's try this instead. Here's what somebody else is doing, right? Andrew, you have a question? Were you gonna say something?
Yeah. So my question is, I work in the corporate space. So a lot of the time I get this like, hey, this sounds good, but I need to take it up the chain. Like, for example, this meeting I had last week, I met with the VP of marketing, but what I didn't realize is he's the VP of marketing on the delivery side, sales delivery. And then there's the marketing content side. And so he's like, yeah, this sounds good. Let me run it up to this person over here. How do you navigate that? Because in a lot of ways, I just feel like hand-tied where I'm like, and he's vouching for me. He's like, this sounds great, but I just, I got to talk to this person. Is there anything that I can do to help that along, or what's that
Yeah.
process?
So that good question, right? And there's not a black and white like, oh, just say this and you'll never deal with it again. But what we can do to try to mitigate that is, because I've had to deal with that a lot, dude. Before I even hop on a call with someone, like when they show initial interest and they're like, hey, we want to talk about doing video, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, cool. Let's set up a call. And then we'll figure out a time, get the call set up. And it'll be like, by the way, who's the decision maker that's actually going to be deciding on whether or not we should do this? Oh, it's going to be my boss, but I need to come in first and get some information. You're like, okay, cool. Well, what are you guys looking for exactly? Oh, just some video. And like, I'll sometimes just call him on the phone and ask a couple quick questions. So how many of you guys know who Cole Gordon is? Closers.io. So like when it comes to sales, closing, biggest dude in the space, watch him, follow him. What about like Jeremy Miner? Any of you guys know him? Okay. So there's the one call close framework. There's two call close, and then there's like the triage. Triage is usually when a setter will call a lead initially, ask a couple questions, and set expectations before they hop on the actual call with the closer. Okay. So a lot of times, if it's like a big company or an opportunity where I feel like I need to set expectations properly, like I'll just give them a call first before we actually schedule the real discovery call to make sure we're on the same page. Okay. I'd also have a pre-call sequence. Now, when you guys have a niche and you know exactly who you work with, you have preset packages, just make a pre-call sequence, makes it a lot easier, right? So a lot of you guys, when you schedule a call with me to jump in the program, you saw my sequence where you got emails, a mandatory video that you had to watch before we hopped in the call to set expectations, like all that good stuff. Do the same thing with the agency, right? So people book a call through Calendly, they get automatic nurture sequences where it's like, hey, super pumped to chat with you guys about how we can do X, Y, Z. Make sure you watch this video before you hop in the call. And then in the video, we set expectations up front. I'll tell them, make sure you have pen and paper, make sure you're in a quiet spot, make sure that we have any decision makers on the call, because this is a decision call, right? This is high level. We don't want to waste your time, and I know you guys don't want to waste my time. So let's make sure that we have decision makers on the call. So I set that right out the gate, right? So that way, people that hop on the call, like if they have a wife that needs to make a decision with them, or they have like a business partner, they already show up to the call ready to go. Okay. And I just tell them, like, if they hop on the call and I'm like, are all decision makers here? And they're like, oh no, this other person's busy. Then I'll come in with, okay, just to be clear, like, what specifically are you guys looking for? Oh, we just want a video for this, this, and this. We just need to know your rates. Okay. Respectfully, I don't know if this is going to make the most sense, because I don't just like make videos. Like, I'm not just a show up, hit record, deliver a video for you guys. Like, ultimately, why do we want a video? Oh, you get down to the point. They're trying to make more money. Okay, cool. How important is it for you guys to achieve that outcome? Like how important and how much of a priority is this for you right now? It's pretty important. Okay, cool. Do you think it would warrant your boss's like 30 minutes of his time just to sit and have a conversation? That's usually what I'll say. Most of the time they'll be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll be like, just ask them to hop on the call so they have all the information available. Because here's the thing, like psychologically, Arthur Murabian, I think that's his name. He's a psychologist. He's got a great book. I don't remember what it's called. But when it comes to decision making, or I'm sorry, not decision making, but when it comes to communication, if somebody hops on a sales call with you, they know nothing about your space, nothing about your process, nothing about who you are, what you do, how you do it, any of that. So naturally, this is the case with anyone. When they have a call with you, 30 minutes to an hour, if they have to take that information and go talk to someone else, they're going to naturally leave out 60+% of all the valuable, important information that you told them that's necessary for them to make an informed decision. And so then it just like doesn't really make sense. So I'll even tell people that too. I'll be like, listen, I just need to have them on the call because at the end of the day, it's gonna eliminate you having to go try and communicate with him. He's not gonna have all the information necessary to make an informed decision. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, why would you record the call? Well, if I'm just gonna record the call, he's gonna spend 30 minutes watching it anyway. Just get him on the call. Like it's not that big of a deal. People overcomplicate it. And a lot of CEOs think that it's important to have their marketing director do it first, but they don't realize if this is actually an important decision for you to make, like a high level decision to invest in this in order to build your business, do you not think it warrants 30 minutes of your time of your day? Because if it doesn't, and you're that busy, I think you've got some other problems you need to work on. I don't say that, like in terms of time management. I don't tell them that. But that's usually what I'll just say. I'll be like, are all decision makers here? Okay, cool. I got to make sure that they're all on the call. Personally, I don't even have a call with a marketing director or anyone unless the owner's there. Like there's a big construction company. They're doing like 70 mil a year or something crazy like that. And they want to double. And they had the belief that strategic video is the way to do that because they have none. Nobody knows who they are. People need to build trust with them. So their marketing director reached out to me and I was like, yeah, dude. He's like, we need to meet. Like, when do you have some time for me and you to chat? I was like, honestly, next Friday works pretty well for me. What's your boss's availability look like? Like the owner, what's his name? John. Okay. What's his availability? Like, I'll just assume that he's going to come. I don't ask. I'm like, what's his availability? Oh, well, he wants me to talk first. Okay. Totally get it, dude. Unfortunately, and then I'll explain, like, it's actually not very productive. Let me know when he's got 30 minutes and then we can schedule a time and I'll just come to you guys and we can chat it up next week. Most of the time, if I say that, like 9 times out of 10, they're cool with it.
Yeah, okay, that's huge. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I feel like I talk way too much. Sorry, guys. Hopefully that's helpful. Nolan, what do you got, dude?
Yeah, so one of the objections that I feel like I've gotten in some way or another is not like I have to speak to this person, but I have to like, you know, when I give them pricing, all that stuff, then they're like, it all sounds great, but I have to like check over this one thing, whatever it may be, like in their business before they can make the decision. And that's like I never know. I can't be like, no, I need it now, you know. It's like, well,
For
maybe
sure.
it's important for them.
Course.
So
Of course. So give me a specific example. Is it I need to check, is it a financial thing? Is it a check with the higher ups, like hierarchy thing? Is it a check like, what is it they need to check?
yeah, it's kind of a mix of like all of that. Sometimes it's finances, sometimes it's like this one thing in their business. Let's say if like they have an in-person store or something that's like, oh, we need to finish like the one I just got with someone was like they need to finish their lobby or something. They need to like rearrange their lobby before or like, you know, they're doing a remodeling or something before they can officially move forward. Just like weird little things like that are like, you know, I don't know before the call,
Yeah.
but it's like, you know, once they have the pricing, then they're like, oh, we need to wait because of this little thing, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Before we go into that, Mike just said, someone mentioned last week, yeah, Ocean was like, you can put a Zoom to send a video before the meeting starts that can be used to set expectations. So I'll be honest, like I would not do it right before the meeting starts, like on the like Zoom when they hop in and they sit there and watch it, because they need to set expectations. They need to communicate properly. So if they do need a decision maker, they need to be able to watch the video and have enough time to communicate with that person and make sure they're on the call with you. Right. Or if like you tell them expectations, make sure you're in a quiet spot so you can focus, because I've hopped on Zoom calls with people where they're like driving in their car and they can't really focus. I'm like, is this a bad time? Like we can reschedule. So expectations need to be set in advance, which is why if you guys watch the pre-call module, if you haven't already, pre-call sequence, show up rate training specifically is what it's called. Watch that, implement that. So whenever people book calls, they get automatic nurture sequences to set up those expectations. All of my templates, frameworks, everything's in there. But anyway, so, okay, Nolan, how do you handle it? How do you handle it as of right now? Somebody comes to you, you get to the very end and they're just like, yeah, okay, sounds good. We just got to check some things on the back end, and I'll get back to you.
I just essentially move it to another call when they say it's good for them. That's the best route I feel like I found. So for example, I was on a call with a company who is in like Arizona, and I gave them the pricing. They're like, yeah, this is like, we know we need video. This is awesome. But they wanted to wait because their lobby needed to be redone, and they wanted to like fine tune some things for video. So I was like, all right, great. When do you think that will be done? And they said like, I don't know, like April or something like that. I was like, all right, great. Let's get a tentative schedule. Let's get a tentative call so we can retouch on this, and then, get the game plan going from there. That's essentially how I went about it.
Okay. Does anybody have any ideas of how they would handle it?
That's a semi-valid excuse in the sense of like I know most companies like to put an image up and all that. If it was a different excuse, I would have had a different objection overcome, which would have just been along the lines of, do you feel like well, first I would ask how long you already got that information, and then I would have said something like, if it's too, hold on, my dog's coming. Go stop. Sorry, I'm walking him and he sees another dog. Go. Sorry. Sorry about that. I would have said it along the lines of, if you're too busy now, to do this right now, do you think you'll be busier in the future, if not about the same? And it's basically implanting in their head that there's never going to be the best time for it. Also, how important is that one lobby to delay the ability to get more clients? So you said April? That's like what? How many months from now?
Two-ish months.
2-ish months. Okay. You could even just be like, well, okay, we're gonna wait 2 months to do this project for one lobby. Do you feel like we can get other videos done or other projects in the meantime that would start generating you results? So when it does come time for the whatever it is, we'll already have a bulk of content up, and then that's just going to be an addition.
The tough thing is that they're not in my state, so I'd have to fly to go to them. So there'd be travel cost included, and I have it included into my rates, so it'd be an increased rate.
That's not a bad. Oh, go ahead, Rich.
I like to ask questions, so let's do a role play real quick. Okay, and then see how we'll see how this goes. See if I can.
Am I the client, or are you?
You're the client. You're the client.
Okay.
I'll be you. Okay. I pitched the video. Okay, so go ahead and give me the objection then.
Yeah, we need to check over our lobby and finish putting a chair here, and repaint this wall before we can move forward.
Is that actually like an objection you would get? Then you repaint a wall.
No, that was just an example.
Let's use a realistic one.
Okay,
real quick.
He just said, do you want me to use the example that he said with like remodeling or like redoing the lobby? Okay, that's what he said. He's like, he has to redo the lobby, remodel it or something like that.
So what are you guys talking about? You talking about doing content within the lobby area? Is that why they can't do it?
Yeah, we want to have the overall video of showing our brand. We want to showcase our lobby, which has our items that we're selling.
Okay, well, dude, if that's the case, then yeah, you just gotta wait. You can't. There's no. There's like, yeah, okay, we gotta wait. But here's the thing. This is why, like, also at the beginning of the calls, I always ask, like, well, actually, no, sorry, not the beginning. Towards the end, before I say the price, I'm just like, okay, cool. So, does everything we talked about sound in alignment with what you're looking for? Yes, 100%. Cool. Get that out of the way. So, this is good. This is what you want. How soon are you looking to get started on this? Oh, wait like a month or so. Oh, okay. Well, why are we having this call now then? Why not just wait like a month? And then usually, like, maybe they're just like, oh, we're just trying to shop around and get pricing. So the reason I asked the question is like, why now? Why not wait a month? Because then I'm able to uncover another potential objection. Is like, oh, I just want to get pricing. Be like, oh, okay, you're kind of shopping around then. Okay, cool. Well, let me just ask you this to make sure it actually really makes sense for you and I. What are you looking for in a videographer? Like, what are you looking for in a video strategist, or in this video, for example? What is it you're looking for? What do you value? I don't know. Like, what's something you would say?
What the client would say, I don't know, someone who like can produce videos that can convert into more sales.
Okay, great. Have you invested in video before, like high level stuff like this?
No.
Cool. Okay. How many other calls you have lined up? You talking with a few other guys?
You're the first call.
First call. How many? You got like 5 others probably?
No, not yet.
No,
But
not yet.
but
Okay.
but I might.
Okay, gotcha. Well, so before we talk about pricing, like, does this again? This sounds like exactly what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we can get started. And if you want, like, we can wait a month. That's totally cool, man. It's just gonna be $5,000 for the video.
Okay,
That's how
sweet.
that sounds.
Can I get back to you on that then? And talk to a couple other people.
Yeah, sure, man. But just so I'm on the same page as you, so I can make sure I help as much as possible. What else is it you're kind of looking for? Because is it the price, or is it because we just talked about before, this is everything that you need, everything you're looking for. So if you want to talk to other guys, of course, you can do whatever you want. But just so I'm clear, like, what specifically are you looking for in someone else that maybe you don't see here?
I think I would just have to look over like some of your content and maybe some of your past results. I haven't gotten a chance to look at that yet. So I think
So
that's
real
probably
quick, pause. That's also why we said the pre-call sequence, because then they see
yeah.
all of our work, they see all of our testimonials. They don't even have to come up. They already know we know what we're doing.
Yeah, okay.
Right? It's why case study is so important. So that's not an objection. So don't say that. What else would you say?
Okay. That's something that someone has said to me, but now I have the pre-call set up from here.
Yep.
So okay, what was your question again?
What are you looking for in somebody else that maybe you're not seeing here?
That's a really good question. Well, everything seems to be good with what we talked about, so let's move forward.
Cool, let's
I
do it,
guess
man.
what would be an objection there? I guess I can't think.
I don't know. Can anybody think of anything?
Just price.
Yeah, maybe you want to find someone cheaper. So maybe someone's like, I just want to look around and see, like, but usually they're going to give a smoke screen. They're not going to say, I want to see if I can find someone cheaper. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to say, oh, we just want to weigh our options. Okay, I respect that. I understand that. I just want to make sure this is a good fit in the first place, because if it's not, I don't even want to be a contender. But it sounds like, based off what you told me before, based on my initial question, this is everything that you're looking for, right? This sounds like a great fit for you. So is it solely just the price, or is there something you're not looking for? And then you identify and you narrow down to the real objection, which is, okay, it is just price. Okay, cool. So Johnny, I just question for you real quick, dude. So it's just the price. Everything lines up here. Everything's good. First of all, why waste your time talking to anyone else if everything's here? If it's just the price, I want to be really clear again. Like, how are you going to use this video? Like, why do you want a video again in the first place? Like, what's the goal here? What are we trying to accomplish?
Yeah, the goal with the videos to because we're adding more, they call it SKUs because they have their products. We're adding more SKUs and we want to get more awareness of our new products as well as just of our brand in general.
Okay, gotcha. How much you guys making right now? Like, what's your revenue monthly?
Shoot, I wrote down
throw a
what
number out
there. That's 14 million.
A month. Let's say 50
Oh,
grand
a month. Okay, 100,000 a month.
Okay, 100,000. We'll say 100 grand a month.
Okay.
How many new products are you launching?
2,000 new SKUs.
2,000 new SKUs. Okay, cool. So when you launch all of those, what's your goal in terms of revenue? Like, I know you're a big company. You obviously have these goals. So, like, what's your revenue goal when you launch this?
Essentially doubling our monthly from where we're at.
So 100 to 200. Cool. What's your go-to-market strategy? Like, what's your marketing plan once you launch these products? What's that funnel look like to get?
We don't necessarily have anything set up right now besides just putting it on our website and having traffic go to there, but we don't really have any other channel set up.
Where's this video gonna live?
It would be on our website and promoting it on our social medias.
Okay, so sounds like it's pretty important then. That's they're gonna land on the website. You're driving all traffic to there. They're gonna see that video first thing. Okay, so we know that's gonna be a big deciding factor on whether or not your conversions are good or bad, right? Is seeing that video to really establish everything they need to know about your brand. Cool. Okay, good, man. So 200K a month. I really want to know your goal because I want to make sure I can actually get you there. So, dude, here's the good news, right? If we're adding an extra 100 grand a month in revenue, that's like 1.2 million a year, dude. If you want to do that, it just costs $5,000.
Let's do it.
Okay, so you guys notice what I did there?
You use money, you use numbers to justify the reasoning.
So listen to that. I do that all the time. Okay, dude. So why are we here in the first place? Well, okay. Walk me through your funnel. How do you plan to launch this? Okay, you're making this much money right now. Here's your goal. Cool. Do you have a strategy? No, but we know where this video is going to be incredibly important. Okay, cool. And we've painted the picture on why it's going to be important. We know where the customer journey is going to go. We know they're going to land on the page, and that video is going to be the first thing they see. And their goal is to add an extra 100 grand a month in revenue. Even if it's just an extra 10 grand a month in revenue is their goal on like the low end. That's an extra 120 grand a year. So then I'm like, okay, cool. I write it down. I'll share my screen or have my iPad. I'll write all these numbers down. and I'll literally say, okay, cool, dude. So like we want to add an additional 120 grand a year in revenue. Okay, that makes sense. Everything lines up with you and I. Like that's super easy. That's super clear, bro. Dude, just 5 grand to get 120.
You
Sound
know what's
good?
funny
So
about that too?
how would go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. You got a question. I was just gonna say, this is why asking numbers is so important during the beginning of the call. Because what I've learned, and I learned this from Call Gordon actually, it was objections come up because you just didn't cover something prior to the objection handling. So objections can actually go away once you actually ask the right questions. He says the correct sequence, but I don't know. You just
So
gotta
if you,
get
yeah,
all the.
if you guys want to get really good at sales, pay attention to all the objections you get and write them all down. And then over
Yes.
time, as you see all those objections, you then ask yourself the question of, okay, how can I eliminate this from ever coming up in the first place during the sales
Mhm.
call or the discovery call? Right. And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you can always figure out a way to set the expectation via pre-call or during the discovery phase by asking the right questions. Right. I'm at a point now
Exactly.
where it's literally just a matter of, cool, here's the price. Yay or nay, right? And there's like really no objections anymore because we've handled all of them before we even start. Does that make sense? Colton, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, how would you take that same scenario? Because you're using numbers there, which is amazing. And that's like every real estate agent's problem is like, I don't know how to handle the objection of the fact that I can't promise clients because I want to be able to promise clients, but that's not, I don't want to come to them and be like, I'll get you 5 new clients in the next, 90 days. Like that's asking for problems. So I don't know, like, how would you take that same idea of, okay, you make X amount more by the end of the year? Like, how would you use numbers with a real estate agent is my question.
So same thing. You just ask them the question of like how much money you're making. What's your monetary goal? Everybody has a goal. If they don't have a goal,
Yeah.
I don't want to work with them because it's not that important to them. So what's your goal? Where are you trying to get to? Okay, walk me through your current plan to get there. This is all in the sales call framework. What's your current plan to get there? Okay, cool. Have you done it yet? Are you currently doing it? Philip's got some sauce, I know. Like, are you currently doing it? Like, what's your plan to get there? So you ask the right questions and then you paint the picture. Okay. Now here's another thing too. You don't need to have a guarantee or anything. The only reason people would ask the question of, do you have any guarantees, is only if they don't have the belief that your system will work for them in the first place. If you paint the picture well enough and you're able to communicate with them well enough, they're not even going to care about asking, do you have a guarantee? Because they're already sold on the belief. People make investments based off their own personal beliefs, right? Like for example, this dude I invested in for the setter, he had a guarantee. He never had to tell it to me because he painted the picture so well of what he's going to do for me and how it's going to work and how it's worked for other people. I didn't even care because I was like, dude, sold. Like, I believe it. It makes sense. It's clear. Let's do this thing. I didn't even care about a guarantee. And then later on, I found out he's like, oh, by the way, like I guarantee this many appointments. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I think you did you ask another question initially? Like, I don't know if that answered it. Like, how do you,
Oh
what's
yeah,
your question specifically on agents?
that's basically it. I'm always asking how much did you make last year? What do you want to make this year? I think I
Yep.
just don't know how to help them realize that I can help them make more. Maybe it's because I'm, still developing that, but yeah.
Yeah, the best sales calls, the best salesmen, just ask the most questions. Just keep that in mind. Like the best salesmen speak less than 5% of the time on sales calls. You're just asking questions. That's it. Like, okay, what's your goal? You want to make this much? Okay, cool. What are you currently trying to get there? How's that working for you? It's not working. Why do you think it's not working? Why are we here talking in the first place? So it sounds like you believe that social media is the way to go. How'd you come to that conclusion? Why me? Right? Like, dude, just question after question. And then they sell themselves on it. Philip, were you going to say something?
Yeah, just to build on top of that, right, with the questions. So just to make it very clear, there are 2 questions, right? So since I'm here, I don't know what was your name again, but since you can't really like offer a guarantee, you can do an emotional close, right? You can ask 2 sets of questions, which is urgency questions
Yep.
and then consequences, like consequence questions, right? So you could be like, let me see, what's a good one? So like, so what are you doing right now, right? Figure out what they're doing to get leads, and then once you figure out like what they're doing, and it's like, oh, it's not really working. Oh, like, why is it not working? And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then you go ahead and ask, like, what's their desired state? What's the results that they want, right? I want to get here. I'm like, okay. So how far are you from that now? Oh, I mean, dude, we're really far. Like, I don't know. We don't really know like the knowledge or the skills to like to get there. I'm like, okay. So then what would change? Like, if nothing changed in the next like 1 year, like what would happen? I'm like speedlining through it, but like if nothing changed, like what would happen? Oh my gosh, like we would be stuck here, like our competitors would be beating us, blah 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 blah. Like you want to ask like consequences, like what would happen if nothing changed, right? Like where would you be at? And then that really paints the picture for them, like, oh, like we're gonna be stuck. And you're the only vehicle to get them to that desired state. You have to paint that picture. But yeah, that's
Perfect.
pretty
Well
much
said.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that you got to remember it just comes down to the fundamentals of marketing. Is like they want to either run away from pain or towards pleasure, and consequences is always running away from that pain.
There it is. You just got to hold your hand up and it'll do the little raise hand thing.
Oh,
Or
shit.
I think you can just go under reactions and then raise hand. Yeah, you can just lift your arm. So keep this in mind too. How many of you guys know what ROI stands for? Everyone should raise their hand. How many of you know what COI stands for? What's COI stand for, Mike?
Certificate of insurance.
No. So I don't know why that was so funny. So there's return on investment.
I sounded so confident about it.
You were just yeah. There's return. There's return on investment, and then there's cost of inaction. You guys know what I mean by that?
The opportunity
So there's
cost.
two different ways you can go about it, right? There's either like focus on the return on investment, or you focus on what happens if you don't make this investment. What's the cost of not taking action? I'm gonna leave you guys the quote, and then we'll bounce for the day. I think I saw this.
There really is a certificate of insurance though.
No, I believe you. It's just not in the right context. It's not what we're talking about, but I believe, like, I know that's also what it stands for. Okay, ready, guys? People love to buy. They just hate being sold to. That makes no sense. You guys hear that all the time? Like, I don't believe that. People love being sold to. I love being sold to. They just hate to be convinced. If you resort to convincing, it's because you failed to sell and persuade. Persuasion is when you help someone make a decision based on their own desires and reasons. Convincing is when you attempt to get someone to do what you want them to do for your own reasons. I want them to close. I want to take their money. Right? That's not what we want. Tune into their reasons, then you'll sell more. Cool. Anything else, guys? Anybody have any comments, questions, anything else? Sean, what you got, bro?
I just had a quick question. I was on a call with a potential client the other day for an event, and it was like a mastermind weekend. And as we're kind of going through things, they were mentioning that price is primarily the most important factor. And then I was like, oh, like, who else are you talking to? And they're like, oh, we got a quote from another person. And I asked like, oh, what was that quote for? And it would have been cheaper than what I would have quoted. At that point, is there anything that you can do to save it? Or is it just kind of like a dead lead and be like, mine's going to be more than that?
I have
'Cause-
something on that, I think.
Sure.
I would say, why didn't you go with them? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yup.
Okay. Any
Here's another
other
way I do it. Here's another way I
yeah.
do it. So I'll ask, okay, let's just get price out of get price out of here. I like that one a lot. Like that, that one's a good one. I've used that before too. Another one I'll use is, well, okay, what I'm probably just like probably look for pricing, probably go with someone else, had a couple other calls, like we're just gonna weigh out pricing. Be like, okay, cool, makes sense. Who would you talk to? Well, I don't want to say their names. Okay, whatever, dude. Like, let's say it's Johnny and Sarah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
no,
you
he
talk to
said the
Johnny
guy's
and
name.
Sarah.
He was like,
Cool.
because I was competing against somebody that would be local too, so they would have had to fly me in.
Saying why didn't you go with them is great. I think that works. Another thing you could do is, okay, so let's just like get price out of the equation. Like, let's not even say that's a factor. If price was like, let's say we all charge the exact same, then who would you go with?
Okay.
If he doesn't say you, then I would immediately say, okay, dude, I would recommend going to the other person then.
Yeah.
Right. But
okay.
odds are, as long as you have a good offer and you're more than just making videos, right? And you know how to navigate sales conversations well, and you're an asset, they're going to say you. You'll be like, well, I'd honestly love to go with you, bro. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Why me? Right. And then have them list out the reasons why. Oh, well, I love how you asked me these right questions. I love how you care more about like just making a video, but you want to help out with the strategy a little bit. Like, I love your experience, how you worked with all these other guys, blah, 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 whatever the reasons are. And then I just respond with, okay, cool. That's why we charge more.
Mm-hmm.
So Like at the end of the day, like I'll just say that. That's why we charge more, nothing else. And most of the time they'll smile and be like, okay, that makes sense. And they'll push them over the edge. But I do also like just cutting straight to the point and being like, okay, well, why don't you just go with the cheapest person? Why even have this call? Right. But that maybe they'd probably come back with be like, well, I don't know your price. Now I know your price. Now that I think about it out loud, actually, like you have the call. Now they know your price. That's why they're having a call in the first place. So I like to do that one where it's like, okay, get price out of the window. Let's say we all charge the same. Who do you want to go with? And then you have them explain to you. The smartest thing you guys can do in sales is like, never try to convince anyone of anything. Never try to like tell them why you're better or why they should go with you. Don't ever do that. If anything, have them explain to you why. And keep in mind, like we want to try and minimize objections at the end, and we want to make the sales calls as smooth as possible. Like guys, first of all, my close rate, Alex, see you, dude. Peace. I think you already left. Whatever. See you guys. Whoever needs to bounce, you guys can hang out for an extra 5 minutes if you have time. But peace. Whoever needs to leave. So with my business, like we got to a point where we had like a 45% close rate and 100% show up rate to all of our sales calls. Everyone shows up, and 45% of them close. Why? Because most of the work was done pre-sales call. Most guys in our space don't do any work pre-sales call. It's just, oh, you got a referral? Like we referred to me, sweet, let's hop on a call. And there's no work done up front. They were just referred to you. Or maybe they find you like organically. So that's why it's important to have the organic strategy, run paid ads, nurture them properly, set expectations pre-call, pre-sales call. Then when you hop on, you navigate the sales conversation in a way that you can address potential objections at the beginning before they even arise in the first place. I'm making a more in-depth sales training here soon. I've been spending a lot of time on it, so I'm looking forward to having that come out. But anyway, how was this, guys? Drop on a scale from 1 to 10, drop me a number in the chat on how valuable this call was. It's important for me. It helps me with thanks, Mike. Helps me with making sure that, okay, like genuinely be honest with me, guys. If this was very valuable, awesome. I love to hear it, but please be honest.
I've seen Ridge Cole's in person because he helped me close the plastic surgery place, and it's always like, holy shit, that's crazy. The way he handles it is always smooth. I want to say that. The other thing too, if you guys struggle to come up with questions for testimonials, the same thing, just write down the objections you've been getting and have the people you do interviews with be like, hey, can you say this by chance? Just because I know that was a big concern with you last time. And after working with me, do you feel like it's still a concern or not? They're like, no, blah, blah, blah. So you basically have the testimonials handle the objections for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. That stuff. Yeah, testimonials are great at being able to handle objections, right? Like just try to stack as many of those as you guys can as soon as you get them. Those are, if you don't have them, video testimonials are invaluable to getting your business off the ground. Cool. Thanks for hopping on, guys. Adam, what you got, bro? End it for us. You got a question?
Yeah, no, actually, it was just a testimonial to how you were talking about the pre-work and how important it is. And by the way, hi guys, I'm new here. I'm Adam. I was on a bus earlier, that's why I couldn't do my intro. But just kind of an inside look. I work with a guy who sells courses in the e-com space, and he made like a very small switch to his before booking marketing, where it went from basically like, we want to help you build an e-commerce business to we want to know if you can work with us kind of thing. Like he sold it to them as in, you can work with us if you fit this criteria. And basically his close rate went from 10 to 65%. And his monthly revenue went from, it was at like 15 to like, I want to say it was like 90K a month. And it was just like this tiny little psychology switch, right? Like barely any change, but just our before call marketing stuff switched, and it was like a crazy difference. So definitely important. I agree with what you're saying.
100%. Well, thanks for jumping in and talking so we can hear your voice, man. But okay, guys, thanks for hopping on. Hopefully this is valuable. This is helpful. I will see you guys next week. Keep crushing it. I'll see you guys later.